All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Court of the Rings on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. I am Lotro's Community Manager, Cordovan, and I'll be with you for the next hour, hanging out, having some fun. I'll have some of the latest news. I can let you know sort of what we're working on for the next couple of weeks, and we do have some things in the works, including a new producer's letter, which, fingers crossed, all signs point to that getting published next week. The only real bits left to do is to do the staging and kind of we're a couple of assets, screenshot type things were should have all ready to go by early next week. So the producer's letter should be out next week. Gosh, I hope I'm right. Welcome everyone to Court of the Rings. How you doing? Nice to see everyone here today. A very orange-shirted Cordovan. Yeah, I got this at PAX East a long time ago. And it's got a microphone with Godzilla singing into a microphone, and allegedly says "Gojira karaoke" on it. That's what the deal is with the shirt here. All right, so how's everyone going? So far, so good. I'm looking at some video, and I'm not stuttering. The video isn't stuttering too bad. And yeah, Gojira karaoke. Isn't stuttering too bad. That's one of the things I've been trying to work on in recent weeks, to no avail, sadly. Except so far, so good here today. I guess we'll have to see how it goes when I get in game. For those who have watched recent week videos, I know that the gameplay has been kind of laggy, and except that it hasn't been laggy, it's absolutely fine on my end. It just isn't making it out the other side in the same state. So I've got bandwidth problems. I've got bandwidth problems. No, yeah, whatever. Okay. Anyway, what else we got going on? It is a weekend here coming up. We do have a boost as well. I'm going to get to some of the bonuses and events and what have you. And yeah, I don't know. We'll just sort of see where things go. So. Nice. Yeah, it's true. I actually will be talking a little bit though to Druid's Fire's point about the schedule here. I think a little bit later on in the show. Got a few changes I'm going to be making to some of what I'm doing in order to fit in some much needed work. But before we get to that though, that's not actually that relevant here today. I did just want to quick mention that we do have a bonus going on. That is a 25% XP boost. That is through Sunday. So do take advantage of that. Additionally, we do have a free 100% crafting XP item with the coupon code Slice of the Pie, and that's through next Thursday. This past week, we did release update 32.0.3, and I wanted to put that up real quick on the screen. Just to go over a couple of bits related to the raid in particular. So let me get this up on the screen and talk over it just a little bit. This got released this past Wednesday. We opened up Tier 3 of the Hidden Horde of Abnan Kara. Tier 4 and Tier 5 are going to be released in the coming weeks as well. We'll announce that on social media and in the forums. The Leading the Charge deed does not shift based on when the tiers open. So, yes, that means you have less time to get it on Tier 5. In some ways, tough. Sorry, but yes, that's the point. And it's available until 3 a.m. Eastern on April 21st. So, through 420. Anyway, we got a couple other things with classes. Runekeeper Benediction and Bjorning had some work there. Items. 5 new music boxes with music from Gundabad and the Angela Mathythal now available to barter. You can speak to like the Gundabad missions, Reclaimers of the Mountain Hold, Defenders of the Angle, Quartermasters to acquire them. A few other kind of bits and bobs as well that you can take a look at if you want to. Expansion bundles that previously gave relics are now giving Shattered Tracery tokens instead. This only applies to basically the Mordor, War of Three Peaks, and Minas Morgul expansion bundles. You know, they were giving relics that are no longer useful. Now they're giving Shattered Traceries that are, as long as you have it open up your bonus items package, when you do, it should give you the right thing. However, if you've already opened it, then you're not going to get Shattered Traceries or what have you. We did do a bunch of work on the Hidden Horde of Abnon Kara, including readjusting Tier 1 and Tier 2. In general, Tier 1 health, damage, and ratings are just down across the board. And additionally, health and damage modifiers have been reduced on Tier 2. The ratings increases, though, have not. And I guess we're basically doing just what we've done historically with like Amdan Dabul, the Bloody Threshold. So if you're familiar with the changes that took place sort of as the tiers unrolled, same things happening here. We did also do a couple of fixes to the raid just across the board. Quick mount collections panel fix, tutorial fix, and a couple stable master fixes as well. So that's, like I say, not a huge patch this week, but it was really about getting Tier 3 ready to open for the Hidden Horde of Abnon Kara. That's now available. And you can get the Leading the Charge deed through April 20th, shutting off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 21st. All right. I think we're looking pretty good there. Let me probably... Where did I put my... There it is. We'll be getting in game in just a little bit, but let me see if there's any kind of questions or other things I should mention. I did mention... Oh, I can think of one thing right now, and before I get to that, see if I can look something up as well. Okay. Yay! I found the Teams chat I was looking for. I think. Go to message. Yes, here we go. Yay! I did it. All right. Let me get to your chat first, and then I will deal with the Spring Festival, which is what I'm going to be talking about in just a little bit. I've not heard of anything about a Valar sale. Sorry. Webpage looks great. Thank you. We're hoping to make it even better here in the coming months. Over on YouTube, is Lochar getting a graphic revamp? We have not announced plans to do, like, say, a full overhaul of our graphics. No. If we were to have something to say in that regard, we'd make an official announcement about it. But nothing to announce for you. Sorry. Also, let me pop over to Facebook quick. Would the reward track will the reward... Well, you say would the reward track ever get an XP counter, gamers, and numbers? I don't know about a formal XP number, and the reason for that is that progress along the reward track is scaled to the level of the character earning the reward. So the relative progress along the reward track is aimed to be relatively equal, all things said and done, level agnostic, as long as you're, above level 45 and doing stuff, right? So having a formal number is a little weird because, it kind of scales a little bit. Yes, we are actually going to be doing some UI work on the reward track here in the near future. I believe to add some level of kind of like more visible progress pips and some things like that. So we do have some work related to progress along the UI track that we should have ready to go in the pretty near future. I don't know. We actually have a very small patch that is looking like we'll be releasing next Wednesday. I don't think this is in there. But it's about that close. So I think it'll be the next couple of patches, something like that. We're going to see a bit of an update to the reward track. Maybe it'll be 33. I don't know. We'll see. but something like that, right? Mike over on Facebook is looking to get their lifetime account back. We changed your password, and you don't get any mails when resetting. Please do get in touch with help.standingstonegames.com. Send a ticket to account support if you have not. Make sure that, uh, yeah, send it to account support. What they'll do is work to reestablish your game credentials and then work to get your account access back. Do I play creeps at all? I have to admit I'm not much of a PvMP player. So not really. Not really. I have, but not really. All right. But to your wider point about the password reset system not consistently applying emails, this is something we have been I've been seeing scroll through Teams chat, for example, in internal chat for a couple of weeks now. We are working to improve the delivery rate of our password reset emails. Unfortunately, the issue is not with our hardware, it's not with our systems, and it has to do with sort of email service providers making decisions about delivery of certain messages and trying to work with those email service providers to say, no, they asked for it, kind of a thing. And that can take some time to sort through. I don't think I can get more detailed than that, but that's ultimately what's going on there is we have found some difficulty in consistently getting the email password reset emails we are sending to be received on the user end. And that's something that we're working to hopefully make some significant progress on in the coming weeks. What I could say in the meantime is if you you just need to get in touch with account support to get your issue resolved. But it really depends a lot as to right now, like which email service provider you might be using. I can't get more detailed. All right. Above Manwi wants basically to have more specific geographic character selection screens based on the racial choice, like a Rivendell elf having a Rivendell background, that kind of thing. That is something we've looked into in the past, and we might be able to do in the future. There's some specific technical concerns about loading too much into the character selection screen. Um, that come into play in part just kind of due to the age of the technology being used. So it's not, there might be an impact of suddenly having, 100 character select video screens and as an option as opposed to the few that we offer, right? We are well aware that there's a big television style production happening this year on the Lord of the Rings IP, and I would imagine that, as you can imagine, we're pretty excited about it, and we're looking forward to it. So I have no idea, what that means in terms of like specifically what we might be doing, but of course we want to make sure people know that we exist as they're getting back into Lord of the Rings, right? So. Like your question there, Harrison, over on YouTube. You love playing on Treebeard, but at the back of your mind, you're always worried, what will happen if the server pop drops? Will I be able to transfer my characters to live worlds eventually? I would say that, as we have seen in some of the lower populated legendary worlds. I can think of, people are well aware that Treebeard's kind of kicking Shadowfax's butt in terms of popularity a little bit. Not that there aren't people on Shadowfax, though, right? But we aren't going to be closing any of the legendary worlds that I'm aware of, right? And if we do, like we did with Ithel, then yeah, I think there would be an expectation that we would give you an opportunity to transfer whatever characters you had on that world to, at the very least, another legendary world. But I would expect we'd probably just say any world, if that ever happened. But I don't think it's going to happen because we seem to be pretty willing to just sort of let it roll, even if it's more of you know, uh, even if one server's maybe has more people on it than another, right? So, all right. In terms of the question, actually going back a bit, I see that the person is still in Facebook chat, kind of raising their concerns. Uh, Specific to a forced password reset, it is true that I guess it was, gosh, almost 2 years ago now, about 2 years ago now, we did do a forced password reset on extremely old game accounts that had not seen activity in a very long time. And that was part of mandatory anti-fraud prevention and keeping in compliance with the various sort of consumer and regulatory laws that exist around the world. And so it is true that we announced it and gave people plenty of time and all that sort of thing, and did do that. But obviously, if you were not playing the game at that time, and you try to come back 2 years later or something, you might be like, "What? They reset my password and now I can't get my email." I understand. I understand what you're saying. I take into account support will ultimately get that resolved. But it is true. We don't do it often. But in this particular case, it is. I suspect it is true that if you are that long ago a returning player, that we did do a mandatory account password reset a couple of years back as an anti-fraud prevention measure, and saw results as a result. Because at that time there was there was a couple of bad actors trying to fish through the game, and you may be remember that from back in the day when we had people posing even as me in game chat in a few cases and things like that. And so, that was a response in part to that and other things that were happening at the time. Yeah. All right. I have not heard of any specific work taking place on racial traits. Yarnik over on Facebook asks, sorry. And just to put a cap on it, to the person in Facebook still concerned, you say, yeah, but you reset the password on my Lifetime account? Well, yeah, especially on Lifetime accounts. But you think the fraudsters don't want your Lifetime account? You were, long dormant Lifetime accounts are like catnip for these fraudsters, right? So, yeah, especially because it was a Lifetime account. Yeah. All right. April dev letter still on track. Even beyond that, next week. So March. March is the new April, or something like that. So yeah, we're getting ready to release a new producer's letter next week. I think we should be able to hit that. Pretty confident we'll get it out next week. Is there a PvP legendary server coming back anytime soon? Oh, the PvP one, the Tournament of the Twins. We haven't really had any, I guess, real discussion about bringing back the Tournament of the Twins. People liked it. You know, it was an experiment. It was cool. Glad we did it. It was neat. And we certainly want to hear from people who would like to see it back. If there are enough of you out there, you know, maybe that's something we can do in the future. All right. I think we're good to go. So, we're at 12:23 here, and I just wanted to basically say that I'm done with the news. So, if you're not interested, if you're not interested in watching me just kind of hang out for the next half hour with everyone in chat, you probably are safe to move on with your day. I can't think of anything I can probably actually talk about that is left to talk about. So, just saying. Just saying. Where am I in game? I am up to chapter 9.1. You know, I was like 8.8 at last week's show, and I haven't had much time due to reasons I will actually be discussing shortly. But I'm up to 9.1 here, and I want to get through the Legacy of the Dwarves, as much of the cool stuff on camera as I can, and hit level 140. I'm pretty close. You know, about what? Third of the way or so, halfway through level 139. So that is where I am right now. I need to summon and defeat the Hobgoblin Shoshrif. Can't see the text in Shakashot. Oh, Spring Festival. Yes. Sorry about that. Good point. Spring Festival. I do indeed need to take care of that. So I will get to that before I do the other thing. Let me just real quick roll back then, so I'm not getting attacked. And before I move on, because thank you for bringing that to my attention. Yes, Spring Festival is next week, and we have got a handful of new items. Let's see, it looks like a new pet and a couple of new interior decoration items for the Spring Festival this time around. And also a guide that I'm working to get together for the new Lotro.com for, gosh, I hope I get it out by next Thursday. That's the plan anyway. And so I wanted to bring that up in part because that is one of the things that I am prioritizing here in 2021 due to necessity. And I guess I can get more into that in a little bit here. But, you know, we launched the new Lotro.com this year. Right? Was it this year? It wasn't late last year. I was working on it all the way through late last year, but whatever. And there's a real need for us to do a lot of writing, really, for Lotro.com. I mean, if I can be 100%, I guess I'm just going to be a little critical of myself here and honest about the reality of the past decade to some extent, and say that the Lotro.com in particular has often struggled with available resources to keep things updated and maintained and what have you. And so now that we are in a position to have a new website, we don't want the new website to not have the kind of value we want for it. And maybe the old website I think everyone knows the guides were kind of outdated. It just wasn't maintained very accurately and what over the years. There just wasn't time for it. There weren't people in some cases for it. You know, it's just the reality of how the world sort of turned out. But now that we have the new Lotro.com, one of my biggest priorities for 2022 here is to make sure that we're launching this website with a solid foundation and getting it off on the right foot and getting a whole new slate of festival, event, maybe bonus, whatever. I've already been working to get the release notes, and I've got a huge amount of work to get all the old forums release notes onto the new website and that kind of thing, right? And it's a huge task. You would think, oh, you just got to copy over the release notes. How long can that take? Well, remember that everything on the Lotro side is approximately 3 times the project because you're doing it in English, French, and German. So, for example, when I have one set of release notes, I in fact have 3. So if you were to take every game release from, let's say, because I started forcing all release notes and everything onto Lotro, the old Lotro.com, I believe it was around update 28 or so. So every game release prior to update 28, every patch, every patch, every point update, I want to get onto the new Lotro.com. And that is hundreds, maybe even a couple thousand releases if you go all the way back to 2007. And that's a huge project for 2022, and not the kind of project, right, that I can just sort of fit into the margins around my other work. But it's something I think is worth doing anyway, because I do think that it would be really great to have a full, complete set of, say, festival guides for Lotro.com and things like that, and have a one-spot permanent archive in all the languages that, we released in at that time and everything on the new Lotro.com. So that's one of the things that's kind of in my that's been in the back of my mind for a while here, that this needs to be done. But as much as sometimes you see on the forums and that, oh, Cordo's lazy, he doesn't even work, all he does is just sit there and ban people all day and then maybe stream over his lunch, right? Okay, that's not actually true, and I hope people actually know that, right? I assume people know that that's just kind of grumbling and that sort of thing. In fact, I actually generally could very easily work quite a bit more than 40 hours per week, and perhaps often do. And as a result of that, I've been kind of trying to think about how to fit all this website work into that existing schedule. And I usually don't talk about the other game. I like to keep things siloed, but remember that for my position, I split my duties between both games. And on the Dungeons & Dragons online side, we are getting ready to roll out a new DDO.com there, and then go through much the same process. So it's not just on the Lotro side that this sort of has been on my mind, but it's also been on the other game side. And the reason I bring that up to you is that it wasn't because the state of Lotro was such when we approached the new website that there was just a lot of kind of articles that honestly weren't particularly relevant anymore, that needed to be rewritten. So on the Lotro side, it made a little more sense to perhaps I used the wrong port. That's what my problem is. All right. I'm just gonna use the port of Vernazol. Yeah. That amount of work has been on my mind. Because Lotro needed to start fresh, we have a lot of work to it. On the DDO side, I had been largely in charge of the website since approximately November of 2010. And I had, made it a priority to maintain DDO.com. We still kind of suck on some of the festivals and all that sort of thing too, don't get me wrong. But in a lot of ways, we were far better about kind of maintaining an active archive and permanent record in one place on the DDO side. Which is a double-edged sword now that we're going to the new website. Whereas I need to not just say do all the population on the Lotra.com stuff of release notes and write the new stuff. On the DDO side, I've got approximately 10 times the amount of articles that need to be copied over into the new website. And it wasn't actually because oh, I know what my point was. Because we were, as the state of Lotra.com, it was work to get the new website open. You know, in a state where, like, minimum viable product kind of thing, right? Took me about 25 work hours. And that was using a new system I hadn't been familiar with and what have you. So a lot of that will get way faster when I do it on the other game side. Let's say I can crack a full third off it or something like that, right? So let's say what took me 25 hours on the Lotra side, that amount of work I could do on the DDO side for 15. But then remember, we have 10 times as many articles. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at a approximately 150 to 200 hour task on that game side. And then let's just be real, probably a not entirely dissimilar amount of work on the Lotro side to port over all those release notes and write all those guides and everything. And really, while there is no exact time deadline for, say, back populating all the release notes onto Lotro.com, it's something I don't want to just sort of give lip service to but never do. So it's one of the things that's been on my mind lately of, okay, well, how the heck am I going to crack this problem, right? And I think what I'm going to be doing is I've kind of been putting together an internal plan of some ways to just kind of cut out a few things here and there to create available work space to do X, Y, and Z. Right. And so I think what I'm going to probably end up actually doing is cutting back on the live streams for both games for a little while here. It's not official yet, but I think in the next couple of weeks, what I'm going to probably do is cut back a few, because if I cut both live streams, there's 2 hours per week. Listen, maybe. And a few other kind of things like that I'm going to do. I've kind of got a few plans for the Beacon and Chronicle as well, but I'm not really ready to talk about that yet. But and then on the release note side, I think we're probably going to have some of the producers kind of take a bigger role short term or something like that to just kind of help, you know, pick up some of the space as it is, right? You know, whatever. Or I need new glasses. That is Asha Kirfin. Is that Asha Kirfin? Yeah, it is. Okay. But something that's been on my mind. So, related to the fact that you are now cordless, you may be actually cordless for a little while here. If I do, in fact, actually pursue what's been banging around my head for a couple of weeks, I think I'm going to take a little hiatus on doing some of the live streaming and newslettering, perhaps even a bit. And instead, focus my efforts in some other areas. For example, like in my personal life, and I never want anyone to look at these videos because there's no point, but I do a little fun on projects on my side with RC cars and stuff. And part of what I've been doing a little bit in my limited free time is working a little bit on my short form video skills, for example. You know, getting out those 2-minute tutorial, perhaps, type things. In a lot of cases, my personal streaming in that is, in part, to get a little practice so that when I do it professionally, I'm less of a noob. Notice I said less of a noob. Anyway, but, you know, that... So I've been kind of thinking, it's like, well, okay, all right. So if I don't have time per week to do, like, this, you know, this kind of hour-long live stream, I probably do have, you know, time to make a quick video. So And the advantage of something like that could be that I think sometimes information gets lost in these live streams. Because, who wants to sit through a whole hour listening to me Babylon? I don't want to sit through a whole hour listening to me Babylon. And so what if instead, like for when 33 came out, instead of having like a bunch of live streams around that time, what if instead I had a couple of videos, here's a minute and a half tutorial on how to get to the NPC, here's where it is, here's how to get started, that kind of thing. Instead, and work a little bit more on short form, because I can do that on a non-time dependent basis, right? I can kind of fit it in a little bit better. So that's kind of what's been banging around my head here. Lotro stream won't be going anywhere, though, and I'll still be doing some level of streams, because I would imagine we're still going to want to do previews and, some of the other interviews and Q&As and things like that. But there's also no reason we couldn't perhaps explore the idea of doing more formal Q&As as short-form videos or something, too. So I think, everything is balancing, and even if it feels sometimes like a cut, well, maybe it's an opportunity. Because I largely applied to Lotro what I had been doing in DDO, in part because I have generally received feedback that my work has been good, and what I've been doing made it worked for me. And when I applied it to the Lotro side, I think it was an improvement to what historically in some cases had been available due to resources and what have you. But that doesn't mean that the way I've been doing it all this time is the best way to do it. It's sort of a way that's born of experience as a long-term veteran working in these products, right? But especially if something feels like it needs to give, because we have some real priorities that I want to do, that we need to do, that you want us to do, maybe it's time to just take a little holistic look at some of these things and go like, do I really need to do this? What if we did this instead? That kind of thing. And so I think we're going to be doing a little bit of that in the near future. I don't know that my live streams are very popular on the forums in general. I get the impression that they're not. But I also hear from a lot of you who are not on the forums, and that is why you like live streams. And there are a lot of you out there, frankly, exponentially more than are on the forums. So it is a little bit of a give and take there, and something I haven't quite sorted all through. So. But, it's not, you're on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch, and I can upload videos to Facebook and YouTube and Twitch. So, you missed the news on the Spring Festival. The Spring Festival has got at least 3 new cosmetic items I'm aware of, a pet and 2 housing items, and it debuts next week. The schedule is already up on the Lotro events calendar. I'm on a load screen. Don't want to hop over to the forums and check quick. But it starts... Actually, you know what? I don't think I need to. Yes, it begins on March 17th and runs through April 5th. The Spring Festival will run through April 5th, shut off at 3 a.m. Eastern on the 6th. Part of the informing about the live stream plan as well is my frustration with my ability to successfully pull off a game stream on the 3 platforms that I do. Oh, I'm supposed to listen. Okay. 3 platforms that I do. and not have framiness and lag. And so that's part of it as well. It's like, well, the live streams just ain't working. If I'm like running into technical problems every week and it sucks and I hate it, but my computer's just fine for making short-term video, maybe I should do that instead. So. Thurlore, that seems like a waste of time, to be honest. The release notes are available and searchable. All you would be doing is making them prettier. I don't know that that's true on the Lotro side. My general belief on the Lotro side, from me trying to dig out some of the stuff, is we have our release notes scattered across at least 3 different places. And with gaps in pretty much every one of them. So I actually do think there is value in trying to collate Lotro's historical release notes into one place. I think the Lotro Wiki, Frank, the player on Lotro Wiki, probably has the most complete set of release notes available. But even they don't, if I recall, have a complete set of release notes. So, you know, I guess I would respectfully disagree. What? Having problems here. Okay. Like I'm saying.
Of course it was a good plan.
So, anyway, that's really just kind of me rattling on a bit about some of my thoughts. Is that there's opportunity, I think, to refocus some of my efforts in a way that's more modern, more productive, better received, hopefully, on the forums and elsewhere, and continue to be able to maintain my requirements, which is that I'm making sure I'm still getting the word out about your events and, you know, concerts and festivals and all that other kind of thing. None of that's going to change. Some of the way we do it, though, may. Ooh, Gorgar. Meet Gorgar. We don't have a new boss from the vault for this year's Spring Festival. Hopefully in the future we will. Well, I mean, I agree. So, Squirrel, obviously the big thing is, you know, less or more public communication. And my goal is more. But some of the nature of that communication may have to adjust. I think that folks would appreciate having a robust Lotro.com that better serves their needs. And that's a form of communication, too. So, you know, I guess again, Squirrel, I appreciate your negative criticism, and obviously that's a big concern of mine, but I don't think that's going to happen. And I'll do my best to make sure it doesn't.
It wasn't a question, it was a command.
Would be, I should just quick note as well, that in terms of SSG duties and priorities, live streaming has never been one of them. And this whole live stream thing is something I forced into existence and gave up my lunch hours for, which, oh, poor pity me. Whatever. But in terms of, say, formal job description hours per week, the live stream is extracurricular. This is me doing this on my own lunch hours here. So, um, you know.
It was a hammer. A shiny hammer.
Yeah, I would expect even if I did technically stop for a while this live stream,
I became
I would still expect to be
trusted
doing
lieutenant.
probably some kind of live stream at least once a
It had
month,
been a
like
good
a
plan,
Q&A thing.
but
So I don't think
times
that
change.
it would be that we wouldn't I just wouldn't ever live stream. But I do think my thinking is maybe this once a week thing should get adjusted short term so that I can focus my efforts where it's best used. Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna do whatever that thing tells me I need to do. I'm just saying, that doesn't look. Yeah, Ronular Chieftain of the Wargs is not. I mean, hey, I can't say I've got a good answer for you on that one. Maybe you should. All right, hey, that should be unwise, my lord. Yeah, go listen to that person. Okay. Just to be clear, Ponton. Oh, no. I see what you're saying. The Lotro wiki. Yeah, yeah. I've had someone say the Lotro.com already has all the release notes because most of them are on the Lotro forums. The Lotro forums is not Lotro.com. It is not run on the .com platform of the rest of Lotro.com. It is its own thing and not particularly
I
stable.
could see
So,
which way the skull was rolling. I needed a new plan.
well, well, that's cool. So Thurlor, just to your question respectfully, I don't think my priorities are in line with those of the players. Gosh, I mean, I'm doing this because I want it to be. So please do let me know. Sort of, if you don't feel that a updated Lotro.com has value, that's certainly something I'd be interested in learning more about. I suspect that people might disagree with you on. I am worried personally that if the Lotro forums were ever to die, that the information contained within them, release notes in particular, would be lost forever. I think at that point, thankfully, we would have the Lotro wiki from which to copy most of those notes back from. But I do not think that keeping the historic release notes on the old Lotro forums is a thing that I want to do.
Actually, let's skip this part. Good idea.
I actually think the each of the actually getting the release notes copied over is not, each release note is not going to, like Thriller says, it pretty much is just copy paste, right? Stripping some formatting out, maybe adding some bullet points and such, putting the wrappers on, including little header images that didn't exist back in the day because they were being posted on the forums, that kind of thing, right? But I don't think the actual process per release note is going to take so much. It's just really the amount of them. And the fact that if something takes 15 seconds to do, like sometimes people, actually, you know what? Here's a great example. Today's Locher Beacon. When I publish the beacon this afternoon, I will publish it on the website and in the forums and in the launcher and in the new launcher and on Facebook and Twitter. And then I will do it on the new launcher in French, the old launcher in French, the forums in French, the website in French, and Facebook in French. New launcher German, old launcher German, website German, forums German, Facebook German. So each one of those tiny little messages gets through a process, and ends up being quite a bit more than just the one quick message that the end user ends up typically encountering it as. So, even that's how in community management sometimes those tiny little tasks, when you do them regularly enough, end up being an amount of kind of actual work time that you need to budget for, even if it is just an hour or two. Because what happens when you've got 50 things that are just an hour or two, right? In a 40-hour work week. So you do have to be mindful of some of that kind of process professionally. But I think that's a good example of kind of what I'm talking about in terms of sort of how, if you're not careful, you do want to be systemic when you're going through these things. Also, Primal Frost art, man. Let me shut up.
Pitiful, unthinking insects. The dwarves do nothing I have not commanded. It was I who spoke to their prince through the eyes. It was I who planted the thought of this conquest in his mind. He is powerless to resist my dragon voice. Can it be? Follow me, my new subjects. Follow me to Gundabar and the final defeat of the dwarves.
Producer's letter next week. Someone saying, when's the new producer's letter? I missed it. Next week.
I told you, didn't I? Sometimes plans change.
You're not the first person to say this, Eduardo, over on Facebook. Maybe I should wrap up the show by officially announcing that I am not trying to look like Dave Grohl. I am not trying to look like Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl is in the cultural zeitgeist right now because he's an awesome dude, and he is over on some nighttime talk shows because he's got a movie that just came out and all that other kind of thing. And the amount of people who have commented over the past, let's just say 3 weeks, that, gosh, I look a lot like Dave Grohl sometimes, is pure coincidence. And gosh, I wish I was that good looking. I'm sorry. I'm not. But it has occurred to me, having now seen Studio 666, I get why people are saying that. We're both middle-aged dorky dudes with kind of, except he doesn't have gray. Probably dyes it or something, Chris I would assume. Unless he's just a super god who doesn't gray. Rock and roll lifestyle and all. The goblin is claiming that Prince Durin is under the influence of Frimmel Frostheart. Remember that there was that scene, through this Legacy of the Dwarves where he did hear that message from inside of the ice. That kind of thing. So, ooh, and he's telling me to slay the goblin?
The goblin is our prisoner, my prince. He is helpless.
Wow.
My prince, I am sorry. If you deem my words worthy of punishment, I will not object.
It is true. When Hrimil says time to jump, Gorgar says, how high you want.
She is summoning Gorgar to Lugros. He has to leave the fancy hammer behind because she's afraid of it for some reason. Sounds good, might have a weapon. Okay. I think we got a pretty good place to wrap up the show here, because we're going to be heading, checking out this Lugros person and going into the Welcome Lofts here. I'll either do that on my own free time, or we'll do it next Friday. But yeah, cool story. Nice work, folks. All right. I enjoyed that quite a bit. That was cool. I really appreciate you being here on Court of the Rings. I would expect to see myself back next Friday as well for more. And like I say, we're not doing anything too crazy here. Might just kind of take a brief hiatus while we make sure that we're meeting your priority and all that sort of thing in terms of the live stream itself. But I can also tell you that next Wednesday we've got our next casual stroll. So that'll be happening next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Scenario is going to be taking you through some stuff. And we do have the producer's letter next week. We have a small patch set for next week. The Spring Festival starts next week. This weekend, we've got a cool XP bonus, and we have a whole lot more in the works. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. Hope you have a great weekend. Hope you have a great time with the Lord of the Rings Online, and I will see you again soon.